So we're going to have a great presentation right now from Josie Robinson. And Josie's over to my right there, and she has one mission: to teach people how to create a joyful and inspiring life. Josie is an author, speaker, and licensed counselor who helps people get unstuck from whatever they're struggling in. Josie has inspired thousands of people around the world to live their best life through her book, The Gratitude Jar, a simple guide to creating miracles. She believes everyone, no matter what their situation, can instantly transform their life for the better once they learn her simple give thanks formula. Please give a warm welcome to Josie Robinson.
All right, I'm going to start with a question for all of you. Do you guys know sometimes how life feels like it's an ebb and a flow and an ebb and a flow? Feels like that sometimes? Yes. Have you or anybody you know ever gotten stuck in an ebb? Yes, right? Happens to the best of us. Those of you who have read my book know that I lived in the ebb. I used to camp out in the ebb for years until I discovered a really simple solution for getting out of the ebb and into the flow and staying in the flow. And my sister Emma also got stuck in an ebb for several years. And she also used the same thing I did to get out of her ebb and into the flow. And so today I'm going to tell you her amazing story of transformation. And then I'm also going to teach you guys the really simple formula that both me and Emma used to get out of the ebb and into the flow. Sound good? Great. Good. Okay. So next slide, please. This is Zach and Emma. Zach is actually my husband's little brother. So technically Emma is my sister-in-law, but we dropped that whole in-law thing years ago. She's my sister in every sense of the word. I just love her dearly. And some of you know Emma, she's amazing. But she's beautiful, on the inside and the out. She's got everything going for her. But several years ago, she was in a really dark place. And what had happened was she had gotten hired right out of college at one of the top advertising firms in the country. And she discovered after working there for a while that she hated it. It was just a really competitive environment, really toxic, kind of just wasn't what she thought it was going to be. So she just quit. And she thought that something would come through quickly, but it didn't. So months went by, then years went by, and she did get a job in Seattle for a while, but then she ended up coming back here because, it was away from her friends, her family, her husband. But she couldn't find a steady job. She did some freelance things to kind of make things float, but it wasn't coming together. So all these years of unemployment were really starting to take their toll on her, She's a really creative person, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever been around somebody who's a creative person who's not able to use their creativity on a regular basis, right? It was really taking its toll on her. It was really hard. Her face was starting to break out. She was just really sort of depressed every time we got together. And every time we did get together, I was scared to ask her, how are things going? Have you ever had that? You have a friend who's going through a thing and you don't want to ask them how it's going with the thing because it's not getting better? Right. That's how it was with Emma. Every time we got together, her answer was always And so one night she came over and I finally just asked her point blank, so how's it going with the job thing? What's new? Anything come through? And this, I would say, was her lowest point when she told me what she told me. What she said, Josie, she's like, you know what? Maybe this is it. Maybe I'm just going to sit around the one-room schoolhouse all day. The one-room schoolhouse is what she called her one-room apartment that she lived in with Zach in St. Paul. She's like, I'm just going to sit around the one-room schoolhouse all day, just stare at the wall, do nothing, and Zach's just going to have to support me because I obviously can't support myself. And for Emma to say that, she is like a trailblazer. She is an independent woman. So to say something like that, I knew that she had really, she just wasn't doing well, So 6 months after Emma and I had this conversation, her life had actually transformed. 6 months between this conversation, and 6 months later. So 6 months after we had a conversation at her lowest point, I need to tell you what was happening in her life because she had a huge transformation. What was happening 6 months later was this. She had started her own successful business as an independent marketing consultant for small business owners. She was super successful, so successful she was actually having to turn people away. She had started her own photography blog and was doing really well selling her photos online. She's an amazing photographer, by the way. Her face had cleared up. She had like spring in her step. You know, the sparkle came back. She was happy. Her and Zach were getting ready to move out of the one-room schoolhouse and into a beautiful home in Mendota Heights that they'd gotten this just amazing deal on. So across the board for her, everything got better. It was remarkable. And so one night, me and Emma were sitting on my back patio just talking about this amazing year that she'd had, you know, because she'd gone through this huge transformation. She's like telling me, she's like, Josie, she's like, this has been the most amazing year of my life. I was like rock bottom at the beginning of this year. And now things are better than they've ever been for me, ever, you know, across the board. And she's like, I can pinpoint one single thing that made all of this amazing stuff happen. And I'm like, what's the thing, you know? Tell me the thing. And she's like, Josie, the one single thing that caused all of this amazing stuff to happen in my life was reading the Gratitude Jar book and using the Give Thanks practice from your book. I still remember this conversation really vividly. And so I was like, what? My book works? Because, you know, I had given Emma a copy of the book before I had published it. It was just like a stack of papers with a paper clip holding it together. And she had read it, and she'd not only read it, but she'd also really embraced the Give Thanks practice that's in the book. And it had changed her life, you know? And those of you who've read my book know that I have also had an amazing transformation. I used to not be able to get out of bed in the morning and take care of my kids or my life because of how depressed I was, really. And now here I am standing talking to all of you about the power of positive thinking, you know? So I believe that miracles can and do happen when you change the way that you see the world, truly. I'm a living example of that. So is my sister, and so are the countless other people who have reached out to me with their own amazing transformation stories. So now you're like, Josie, what's the Give Thanks formula? Well, I am going to give it to you right now. This is it. So next slide. This is the Give Thanks formula. This is the magic secret sauce. You could take a photo on your phone if you want to, but this is the formula that I recommend doing for 30 days and just see what happens. And this is the formula that I walk people through step by step in my live talks, and this is the formula that I teach in detail in my book. But I truly believe that if you give thanks on a regular basis, that it will bring more positive changes than anything you've tried before, truly. Like I said, I've seen it happen so many times to so many people. And what happens is when you just shift your thoughts just a little bit into gratitude, it can cause just a huge shift across the span of your life. So for my sister, you know, before she started giving thanks, her overwhelming thought was, I'm never going to find a job, you know, like things just aren't coming together. I don't have enough money, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Just that constant like negative thought train was going through her head. And so once she started giving thanks, her first give thanks was, you know, I'm excited. I'm grateful that I have time to do my photography. Maybe I should start a blog, right? So do you see how that one little thought, that one tiny gratitude thought changed the entire trajectory of her life? That's what happens when you just shift your thoughts just a little bit into gratitude. Really, I've seen it happen over and over again. I have so many other gratitude transformation stories that I could tell you, but it does work. Especially for people who are in an ebb, they have amazing transformations into the flow once they start using this practice. And that's why, next slide, the subtitle of my book is A Simple Guide to Creating Miracles, because that is what happens when you start giving thanks on a regular basis, miracles. And so my advice for you, if you want to get out of the ebb and into the flow and stay in the flow, start giving thanks on a daily basis. Start giving thanks right now and let those miracles begin. Thank you.